Hello children, moving on to the next lesson of our class 8 English literature textbook Honeydew. We are going on to the fourth lesson, that is a poem, the geography lesson. Geography lesson is a poem written by Zulfikar Ghosh. Okay, I'll first read out the poem in full and then likewise I will be giving you the explanation in detail. Can you imagine what your city would look like if you saw from 10,000 feet above the ground? Neatly planned and perfect in proportion like a geometric design. It would strike you as something very different from what it actually is while you are in the thick of it. Here is a poet's description of just such a view of a city and some questions that come to his mind. Now the poem. When the jet sprang into the sky, it was clear why the city had developed the way it had. Seeing its scale 6 inches to the mile, there seemed an inevitability about what on ground had looked haphazard, unplanned and without style when the jet sprang into the sky. When the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear why the country had cities where the rivers ran and why the valleys were populated. The logic of geography, that land and water attracted man, was clearly delineated when the jet reached 10,000 feet. When the jet rose 6 miles high, it was clear the earth was round and that it had more sea than land. But it was difficult to understand that the men on the earth found causes to hate each other, to build walls across cities, and to kill. From that height, it was not clear why. Okay, so this is how the poem goes. So now before I start on with the detailed explanation, I will give you a little bit information about the poet and also the whole poem summary in a very brief, and then I will get into the detailed explanation of the poem. Now, geography lesson is written by Zulfikar Ghosh. Now, a little information about the poet. The poet Zulfikar Ghosh was born in India before independence. Eventually, after independence, with the division of the country into India and Pakistan, his family migrated to Pakistan, and after that, and now presently, he resides in the USA. Now, a very brief summary of the poem according to the poet. Now, in this poem, the poet talks about 3 things. One is, firstly, in the first stanza, he tells us how everything looks from the sky. Then in the second stanza, he's talking about how civilization came to be developed only around where water resources are found. And in the third one, he is, in a dilemma as to why people hate each other. So the first stanza, in very, very short, it is nothing that when he sees the city from the jet, he's seated in an aeroplane, he's looking out of the window. He says that he finds the city not well planned. They are very, very haphazard and unplanned. Then in the second stanza, he says that he understands that water is very essential for various activities such as agriculture, transport, business, and so on. Then in the third stanza, according to him, he says he reflects that people have built boundaries and hate each other. So he says that he is now wondering why is it that there is division and friction among the people living on this earth. Okay, so now I'll give you detailed explanation stanza by stanza. Now for the first stanza. When the jet sprang into the sky, it was clear why the city had developed the way it had. Seeing its scale 6 inches to a mile, there seemed an inevitability about what on ground had looked haphazard, unplanned, and without style when the jet sprang into the sky. So here he says that once as he was traveling by an aeroplane, maybe he got a seat close to the window, and as he was looking out of the window, he says that he got a good view of the city. The jet or the aeroplane was just taking off. So as you are taking off, you immediately you do not reach the very high. So as the jet was slowly flying higher and higher, he got to see, he had a good view of the city from his window. He says that from that height, from where he was looking down, he says everything seems to be very small. And then he says that he can see that the whole city, he could see the whole city properly, and he finds that as he looks out the window, he was wondering that why the city is so unplanned and disorganized. So, and he says that when he looks like that, he was not very happy to see such a disorganized layout of the city, and he was not very pleased with it. And since it was so disorganized, it did not have a very particular style of the layout in which he was having a look of the city. Then, second stanza. When the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear why the country had cities where the rivers ran and why the valleys were populated. The logic of geography, that land and water attracted man, was clearly delineated when the jet reached 10,000 feet. So now he says that in the second stanza, he comes to know something. He says that when the jet reached a height of about 10,000 feet, he could see that the cities were located near the rivers or water resources. He realizes that the availability of the water resources is the reason behind the unorganized cities. Remember, in the first stanza, he says that he was not very happy to look out at the way the city was laid out. It was so very disorganized. So now he understood the reason for the unorganized layout of the cities. The cities grew as per the necessities. People settled near water resources. Naturally, where there is availability of water, only their development can take place, and that's the region that develops faster. So as people require water for almost all activities of their life, he understands that the fertile land and water are the key to human existence. Thus, he can see the logical reasons for the development of the city. So now he understood the main reason for why there is development of the cities, mainly in and around the areas where water resources are easily or freely available. He notices that the land there is fertile, developments, industries and all, cities and all are being built around that area. People migrate from interior regions of the country and settle down in these areas, and so that's why there is development seen in these areas or in these cities where the availability of water is in abundance. Then the third stanza. When the jet rose 6 miles high, it was clear that the earth was round and that it had more sea than land. But it was difficult to understand that the men on the earth found causes to hate each other, to build walls across cities, and to kill. From that height, it was not clear why. So he's saying, but still he has this doubt. He says when water resources are available in plenty, and then people are, living in these developed areas, and not, still he was having a doubt as to why there is, so much of hatred and disharmony among people. So he says that drinking water is vital for human life. He understood that. And that water is necessary for almost all human activities, such as agriculture, production, business, transport, everything. He also is now clear that the earth has more water than land and that the earth is round. So, as the jet climbs again higher and higher as it gains altitude, certain things become a little more clearer. He says that yes, now when the jet was at 10,000 feet, he understood why only where water is available in abundance, people tend to settle down then, and why civilization there is developed. Then when the jet gained altitude of 6 miles high. It was 6 miles high in height. He says then certain things became a little clearer. He also understood that from where from the window as he was looking out, he understood that in this universe there is more water available than land, and then he also realized that the earth is round. Then there is an inkling doubt in his mind as to saying why people on earth have built walls or boundaries and fences. He is wondering what is this. People have become a little unselfish when development has happened, and then they have created boundaries for themselves, boundaries of countries. They have got boundaries around their own individual houses or fences, and then of course they create boundaries among themselves between the people of another country. The poet says that human beings have a lot of knowledge about the earth, its shape, its emergence of the civilization and the cities and nation. But in their quest, they have not, attained knowledge about how to live peacefully on this amazing planet. Saying people became selfish as development. As they developed further and further in the different fields of technology, science, and everything, people that now started becoming selfish, and then they created boundaries, they created restrictions for the other people. And so he says that yes, they have a lot of knowledge about the earth that they live on and on, but why is it that they don't like to live in peace? He fails to understand why people hate each other so much. He also feels that people are selfish, jealous, and have a narrow mindset. Also, he finds that the earth is one, but the people living on the earth have divided and fragmented it. And he also feels that people on the planet are not living in harmony for, petty, silly, or shallow reasons. If people decide to forget their differences and stay together peacefully, then he says that this planet or this earth would be a really wonderful, amazing, and a beautiful place to live on. So he is requesting all the people that yes, you all have made developments in various fields, but at the same time you all have gone a little backward when it comes to living peacefully. You all have created boundaries amongst yourself. You all do not like other people getting the better of you. You all do not like the success made by the other people, and you all have created boundaries for yourselves. He says that this earth is a very, very beautiful and amazing place to stay, and if we forget all our differences, keep our differences away from all these petty, silly reasons of why we create all these divisions among ourselves, then the earth that we are living on is a really very, very beautiful, amazing place to live on. So I hope, children, I've come to the end of the explanation of this poem. I hope everybody has understood each and every stanza, the explanation of each stanzas in detail. If at all you have got any doubts, you can always clear it up in the Google Meet. Okay, thank you, children. Bye.